The Outcast. The stars above the alien world burned cold. Far away from the shining cities of the Empire, a lonely girl walked across the empty desert. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes glowed faint blue, and her steps left no sound on the dark sand. She was different, and because of that difference she was cast away. Her name was Lyra, born inside the palace walls, the daughter of a royal family that ruled hundreds of planets. But to her people she was not seen as a princess. She was called a curse, a shadow, an omen of disaster. Whispers followed her since the day she was born. She did not shine like the others. Her power was strange, and her visions frightened the court. One night, when she was still young, the royal council gathered. They looked down on her with cold eyes. Her father, the emperor, spoke with a voice like stone. "You will leave this place. You bring only fear. You are not one of us." And with those words her fate was sealed. Lyra was forced into exile. The palace gates closed behind her, and the Empire erased her name from their history. For many years she wandered through forgotten worlds. She lived among ruins, hiding from hunters, scavengers, and mercenaries who wanted her life. She had no friends, no family, only the weight of rejection. But deep inside her heart, a small flame burned. She remembered her mother's voice, soft and kind, whispering when she was little. "One day, your gift will matter, Lyra. One day the stars will need you." Those words became her only hope. Now, in the endless desert of an abandoned moon, she searched for food and water. The sky above was red, the wind sharp as blades. Her cloak was torn, her hands carried scars from battles she never wanted. Yet she walked forward step by step, because she knew that stopping meant death. That night she sat beside a broken ship half buried in the sand. Her stomach ached with hunger, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She closed them and felt the visions again. Strange flashes of the future, a burning starship, a man with human eyes, a voice calling her name. She gasped and pressed her hand against her chest. The visions came more often now, sharper and clearer, but she did not understand them. "Not yet," Lyra whispered to herself. "Why do I see this man? Who is he? Why does he appear in my dreams?" Her voice broke with fear and loneliness. No answer came, only the sound of the cold wind. The galaxy was vast, and she was only one forgotten soul. But somewhere, far beyond this dead world, a human explorer drifted through space, his ship broken, his crew gone, his life hanging by a thread. And though neither knew it yet, their paths were already tied by fate back on the desert moon. Lyra stood and looked at the horizon. Lights flickered in the distance, not the lights of stars but ships, hunters, searching for her. Her exile was not only a punishment, it was a death sentence. The Empire wanted her erased completely. Fear ran through her veins, but she clenched her fists. She was tired of running, tired of hiding. For too long she had been silent, but deep inside, her blood carried the power of her ancestors. She whispered again, her voice trembling but strong. "I am not a curse. I am not a shadow. I will survive." The wind howled, carrying her words into the night. Somewhere in the darkness, the hunters grew closer, and somewhere across the stars a human man began to dream of a silver-eyed girl he had never met. The universe was moving, destiny was waking, and the outcast princess was about to take the first step on a path that would change everything. The human vision. The stars stretched like endless fire across the void. Inside a dying ship drifted a lone human. His name was Captain Arik Hale. His crew had abandoned him, his engines were broken, and the silence of space pressed heavy on his mind. But even in that silence, something stranger lived inside him. Visions. Arik was not an ordinary man. Since childhood he saw flashes of the future. Moments before they happened, fragments of voices, shadows of events that had not yet come. The doctors of Earth called it madness. The officers of his fleet called it weakness. But Arik called it his curse now. Stranded among the wreckage of forgotten stars, those visions returned with brutal force. He saw fire, a burning desert moon, and a girl with silver eyes. He did not know her, yet her face burned brighter than the sun's. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing alone, hunted, afraid, yet unbroken. Arik gripped the controls of his broken ship, whispering to himself, "Who are you? Why do I see you? Why are you calling me?" The visions gave no answer, only more pain. The future slammed into his mind like waves of fire, and then he saw it. His own death, but not alone. The girl was there, reaching for him. Her voice screaming his name, though he had never told it. The ship's warning alarm screamed, oxygen running low, power fading. But instead of despair, Arik felt something new. A pull, a direction. The visions were no longer random. They were guiding him. And somewhere deep in his chest he felt it. If he followed, he would find her. If he ignored, he would die forgotten. He turned on the emergency thrusters, sparks flying, the ship shaking like a wounded beast. No star map showed the path he took. Only the visions guided him, and for the first time in years he trusted them. Every breath was heavy, every second closer to death. But his heart beat stronger than fear. In the blackness of space he whispered, "If this is madness, then let it lead me. If this is destiny, then let me face it." And somewhere across the void, on the red sands of exile, the silver-eyed girl felt a shiver run through her, as if someone far away had spoken directly into her soul. But danger grew closer to Arik too. The scanners lit with hostile signals, alien ships, hunters, predators of the void. They circled like wolves, hungry for human prey, alone, unarmed, broken. Arik should have been easy to kill. But his visions whispered again, "Turn left, fire thrusters now, wait 3 seconds." He obeyed, and the impossible happened. Enemy shots missed him by a breath. His broken ship slid through death as if the stars themselves bent around him. The hunters roared in. Confusion, but Arik only clenched the controls tighter. His curse had become his only weapon. Each move was a gamble, but each gamble carried him closer to the image of the girl in his mind. Silver eyes, a desert moon, her whisper in the dark. Alarms burned louder, the ship barely holding together. Yet Arik's will grew harder. He was no longer running from visions, no longer cursing them. For the first time, he accepted the truth. They were not madness. They were a path that would lead him to her. And in that moment, the human, forgotten by his fleet, broken by his past, became something more. He became the only man in the galaxy who could see what others could not, and he was ready to risk everything to follow it. The hunters closed in again, their weapons ready. Arik's hands shook, his oxygen dropped lower, but his eyes burned with fire, because in his vision, he saw the girl raise her hand, and he knew. If he lived one more day, if he reached her, their stories would crash together and set the galaxy aflame. The first encounter. The desert moon slept under a blood-red sky. Sandstorms moved like angry spirits, tearing across the land. Lyra, the outcast princess, pressed herself against the shadow of a broken cliff. The hunters had found her again, their ships circling above like vultures. Her heart beat fast, her hands trembled, but her eyes burned with quiet defiance. She knew tonight could be her last night alive. Yet something inside whispered, "No, not tonight. Not here, not now." Her visions had shown her a stranger, a man, with human eyes, and the storm told her he was near. Far above, through clouds of dust, a falling star blazed across the sky. But it was no star. It was a dying human ship. Inside, Captain Arik Hale gritted his teeth, fighting the controls with failing strength. Every warning light screamed at him, fire spread through the cabin, but his vision showed only one thing: her, desert, red sky, silver eyes. He whispered. Then impact. The ship tore into the sand, fire exploding across the horizon. Hunters turned their gaze toward the crash, eager for an easy kill. Lyra's breath caught. She saw the flames in the distance. Something inside her heart pulled, stronger than fear. She should have run the other way, but her feet carried her toward the fire. For the first time in years, she was not running away. She was running toward something. When she reached the wreck, she froze. Through smoke and broken metal, she saw him. A human, wounded, struggling to rise. Arik looked up, and their eyes locked. For a heartbeat, the desert fell silent. It was as if time itself held its breath. Lyra saw him exactly as in her visions. Arik saw her exactly as in his dreams. Neither spoke, but both knew. Fate had brought them together. Then the silence. Shattered, blaster fire rained down. Hunters had arrived, ships roared overhead, shadows dropped from the sky. Armored soldiers with weapons in their hands. Arik stumbled, barely able to stand, but his vision flared again. "Move left," it whispered. He pulled Lyra aside just as energy blasts scorched the sand where she stood, her eyes widened. "How did you know?" Arik shook his head, coughing smoke. "No time, we move or we die." Together they ran, sand exploding around them as hunters fired relentlessly. The desert became a storm of fire, but every time death closed in, Arik's vision showed him the path. A rock for cover, a turn to dodge, a second to breathe. It was impossible, yet real. Lyra felt a strange power around him, not magic, not alien but human, will sharpened by something greater. She whispered under her breath, "You are the one." He didn't hear. He was too busy dragging her through the chaos. They reached the cover of a broken canyon wall, gasping for air. The hunters regrouped, their commander shouting, "Do not let her escape, the traitor must die and kill the human too." Their boots thundered closer. Arik's hand shook, blood on his arm, yet his eyes burned. He looked at her. "Why are they hunting you?" She swallowed, her voice trembling, but proud. "Because I am not only an exile, I am their lost princess." The words hit him harder than the firestorm. Princess, hunted by her own empire, visions connecting them across stars. He almost laughed at the madness. But the fire in her eyes told him it was true. Above them, the hunters aimed heavy cannons. Lyra raised her hand, silver energy sparking at her fingertips. Arik's vision screamed, "Now, together." For the first time, they moved as one. Her strange power lit the sky like lightning. His vision guided her strike. The blast tore through the hunters, forcing them back. Smoke and silence followed. Their bodies pressed against the canyon wall. Breathing hard, bleeding yet alive, Arik looked at her again, truly seeing her. An outcast, a princess, a survivor. And she saw him, a broken human who should have died, yet refused to fall. In that moment, neither spoke, but both knew. This was only the beginning. The hunters would return. The empire would not stop. And together, their fight was only starting. Secrets revealed. The desert was quiet again, but the silence was heavy. Smoke curled from the wreckage. The sand still burned from the battle. Lyra and Arik crouched inside the canyon, their bodies bruised, their breaths uneven. The hunters had been driven back, but they would return stronger, and both of them knew it. Arik's eyes stayed fixed on her, the girl who had saved him with light that no human had ever seen. He whispered, his voice rough, "You are not just an exile." Lyra's gaze fell to the ground, her fingers trembling. "I am Lyra Vera, daughter of the imperial bloodline, heir to the throne of the Zareth Empire." Her words were quiet, but they cut through the air like blades. Arik blinked, stunned. He had heard of the Empire. Every human had. A vast power that ruled countless stars, merciless, untouchable. And now the broken girl beside him claimed to be its lost princess. Yet when he looked into her silver eyes, he saw no lie. Lyra's voice grew sharper, but pain echoed behind it. "They called me cursed, they feared my gift, my visions." Her hand pressed against her chest. "They exiled me, erased me, hunted me because I am not like them." Her words trembled with both anger and sorrow. "All I ever wanted was to be seen. But to them, I am only a shadow." Arik's heart pounded. He understood her pain too. Well, all his life people called him broken, mad, cursed with visions he could not explain. He whispered almost to himself, "We are the same." Her eyes lifted to his, and for the first time, she felt it. She was not alone, but before the moment could settle, the ground shook. From the skies above, a deep thunder rolled. A massive Imperial warship descended, its shadow covering the desert like a storm. The hunters were not just chasing, the Empire itself had come. Arek's visions slammed into him, blinding and sharp. He staggered, clutching his head, flashes of fire and screams tearing through his mind. He saw himself captured, chains around his wrists. Lyra dragged away in darkness. He gasped. "They are coming for you." "No, they are coming for us." Lyra's face hardened, fear and defiance burning together. "They will not stop until I am gone forever," she whispered. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, the energy inside her trembling like lightning waiting to strike. The Imperial ship's loudspeakers thundered across the desert. "Lyra Vera, traitor to the throne, surrender now, or we will burn this world to ash." The words echoed like doom. The hunters cheered, the soldiers prepared. The Empire's wrath was here. Arek turned to her, blood on his lips, fire in his eyes. "You are not a traitor," he growled. "You are their princess, their future." She shook her head, her voice breaking. "No, I am nothing to them." But Arek grabbed her hand, holding it tight. "No, your visions, my visions, they are not curses, they are the key." The warship opened its bays, soldiers pouring out like shadows of death. The desert shook beneath their march, weapons glinting under the red sky. Arek's vision screamed again, a single path through chaos, but it came with a cost. If he followed it, he would bleed. If he ignored it, she would die. He swallowed, hard, his voice steady. "Listen to me, Lyra, you are not alone anymore." She stared at him, seeing something in his human eyes no alien had ever shown. Belief. Her heart trembled. Her fear turned to fire. For the first time, she felt like more than a curse. The soldiers raised their weapons. The commander's voice roared, "Now." And in that heartbeat, Lyra and Arek stood side by side, her power blazing like a star, his visions guiding every second. Together, they faced the storm. The desert exploded with light, fire, and fury. The Empire thought they were hunting an outcast and a broken human. But what rose in that canyon was something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. The beginning of a bond strong enough to shake thrones. Rising conflict. The desert burned with fire. The Empire's soldiers filled the canyon like a flood, their boots striking the ground in thunder. Above, the warship loomed like a shadow of death, its weapons glowing with red light. Lyra and Arek stood together, their bodies weak, their hearts strong. Blaster fire rained down. Lyra raised her hand, silver energy bursting from her palm. The light cracked through the air like lightning, shattering enemy lines. Soldiers fell back in fear, their eyes wide. "She should not have this power," one cried. "She was supposed to be broken." Another shouted. Arek's vision screamed, in his skull, guiding him through the storm. "Duck now, move right, wait one breath." He obeyed without question, pulling Lyra with him. Every shot that should have ended them missed by inches. The Empire's most trained killers failed to touch them, but more soldiers poured in, and Arek felt the vision cut deeper. He saw their future if they stayed. Death, fire, and chains. His voice broke through the chaos. "We cannot fight them. All we must run." Lyra's eyes blazed. "I will not run again." Arek's jaw clenched, his hand gripping hers. "If you die here, your story ends as theirs, not yours." She froze, the truth burning inside her. Then she nodded and they turned. Together they raced through the canyon, chased by fire and steel. The Empire's voice echoed from the skies. "Run, little traitor. Run, you cannot escape your fate." The warship's cannons roared, explosions tearing the cliffs apart. Stone and sand fell like storms. But the visions pulled Arek forward. A narrow path, a hidden cave, a single chance. They stumbled inside as the canyon collapsed behind them. The darkness swallowed them, the sounds of war fading. For a moment, there was silence. Only their breaths. Ragged and sharp, Lyra's body shook, her power draining, her voice broke. "I cannot fight them forever. They will never stop." Arek turned to her, his face scarred, his eyes burning. Then we don't fight forever. We fight to win. His words struck like iron, simple, human, yet filled with fire that even empires feared. But the cave was no safe haven. In the shadows, something moved. Figures cloaked in black, their weapons sharper than soldiers. Assassins, sent not to capture, but to kill. Their blades gleamed in silence. The Empire had unleashed its darkest hunters. Auric's vision flashed again, but this time it showed him pain. He saw himself stabbed, bleeding on the cave floor, but he also saw something else. If he fell, she would rise stronger. If he survived, she would doubt herself. The choice twisted inside him like fire. The assassins struck, shadows against shadows, their blades slicing through the air. Auric threw himself into the fight, his body slower than his vision, but every strike he dodged was guided by the fire in his mind. Lyra's energy flared again, silver arcs tearing the darkness. Together they fought as if bound by one soul. One assassin leaped, blade aimed for Lyra's heart. Auric's vision screamed, "Take the blade or she dies." Without thought, he stepped in front, the steel cutting into his side. Blood spilled across the cave, his breath torn away. But Lyra's scream shook the stone walls. Her power erupted like a storm, blasting the assassins back in terror. They fled into the shadows. Their mission failed, but their whispers carried fear. The human is not ordinary. The cursed princess is not broken. Together they are dangerous. Auric collapsed against the wall, blood staining the sand. Lyra dropped beside him, her hands shaking as she tried to heal him with her fading power. Tears burned her silver eyes. "Why would you do this? Why would you take the blade for me?" Auric's lips curved into a weak smile. "Because your story is not over, and neither is mine." Outside, the Empire's forces regrouped. The warship commander sent a message across the stars. They live, the traitor and the human. But together they are something more, something we cannot control. And for the first time, the Empire felt fear. Inside the cave, Lyra pressed her forehead against Auric's, her voice a whisper. "Then, let them fear." The darkness around them trembled with those words. Because from exile and visions, from blood and survival, something new was born. Not just rebellion, not just defiance, but the beginning of war. His vision changed everything. The cave was dark. Only the sound of dripping water echoed in the silence. Auric lay against the stone, blood seeping from his wound, his breathing shallow. Lyra pressed her trembling hands to his side, silver light sparking weakly from her palms. But her power was fading. Tears burned her eyes. "Stay with me, please. Do not leave me," she whispered. Auric's eyes fluttered open, and in that moment the vision struck again. But this time they were not fragments, not broken whispers. This time the vision was whole, clear, burning like fire across the stars. Saw the Empire in flames, warships falling, palaces crumbling. He saw Lyra standing at the center of it, no longer an exile, no longer a shadow, but a queen crowned by fire, her silver eyes blazing like suns, and beside her he saw himself, not as a broken man, but as the hand that guided her path. His body shook, the vision overwhelming. But within the fire, he saw something darker. If she fell into despair, if she let her fear control her, her power would not save the galaxy. It would destroy it. Her gift was not only hope, it was also doom. Auric gasped, his voice hoarse. "Lyra, you are more than a princess, more than a curse. You are the key." Her hands froze, her breath catching. "The key to what?" she whispered. "To everything," he said. "To the rise or the fall of this galaxy." She stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "I am hunted, hated, forgotten. How can I be the one to save anything?" Auric's hand gripped hers, his blood staining her silver skin. "Because I have seen it, because I have walked through your future." His voice grew stronger, fueled by the fire of the vision. "You will rise. You will take back what was stolen, and the galaxy will bow to you, but only if you choose." Her heart thundered. The words lit a storm inside her, a storm of fear and hope. For so long she believed she was nothing, but this human, broken and bleeding, spoke as if she were the axis of the universe. Before she could answer, the cave shook. The Empire's hunters had returned, their footsteps echoing closer. Arik tried to rise, but his body failed. The vision blazed again, showing him the only way forward. He whispered, "Listen to me. If you fight now, you will lose. If you run, you will live." Lyra clenched her fists, her voice shaking. "Run. Again. Hide again. No. I am tired of running." Arik's eyes burned with desperation. "This is not weakness. This is survival. I have seen it. Your moment is not now, but it is coming. You must believe me." Tears slipped down her face, but she nodded. She lifted him onto her shoulder, her small frame carrying his weight with fierce strength. Through hidden tunnels they fled, the hunters' shadows chasing them. Blaster fire cracked behind, but the visions pulled them through secret paths. Left at the fork, wait one breath. Drop down into the pit, every whisper guiding them out. They stumbled into the open night. Above, stars stretched across the sky like fire. Arik collapsed to them. Sand coughing blood, Lyra dropped beside him, shaking with fear. "What else did you see?" she demanded. His eyes burned with pain, but also with fire. "I saw a throne, I saw fire, I saw you holding the galaxy in your hands, and I saw myself beside you." She froze, her heart racing, beside her, not as her servant, not as her soldier, but as her equal. The words filled her with both hope and terror. She whispered, "And if we fail?" Arik's face darkened, the vision of destruction burning inside him. "If we fail, there will be no galaxy left to save." Silence stretched between them, heavy and sharp. But then Lyra took his hand, holding it tight. Her voice was soft, yet filled with fire. "Then we will not fail." Far away, inside the Empire's warship, the commander delivered his report to the throne. "The traitor has awakened her power, and the human, his visions cannot be denied. Together they are unstoppable." The Emperor's face twisted with cold fury. "Then burn the stars if you must, but bring me their ashes." And so the galaxy began to tremble, for in that cave, a vision was born that would change everything. A vision of a human and an armed alien princess standing side by side, not as outcasts, not as broken souls, but as the fire that could rewrite destiny itself. From outcast to princess. The stars burned like fire across the black sky. The Empire had declared war on its own blood, across 1,000 worlds. Soldiers whispered of a silver-eyed princess who had returned from exile, and beside her, a human, whose visions defied the future. Fear spread through the throne rooms and hope spread through the shadows. Lyra and Arik stood on the cliffs of a ruined world, her cloak torn, his body scarred, yet their eyes burned brighter than the stars. They had run from hunters, fought assassins, defied warships, and now, there was no more running. The Empire demanded their surrender, but instead, they would rise. Arik's visions had shown this moment. He saw the throne burning. He saw the galaxy trembling. But more than that, he saw her, standing not as an exile, not as a curse, but as a leader, a queen, a beacon in the darkness. The Empire descended upon them. With its full fury, fleets darkened the skies. Legions filled the ground. The Emperor himself spoke through the stars, his voice cold as stone. "Lyra Vera, you are no daughter of mine. You are nothing." But her heart no longer broke at those words. She lifted, her head, silver eyes blazing, and her voice thundered back, "I am more than your daughter. I am the heir of the stars, and I will not kneel." The battle ignited. Warships roared. Soldiers charged. The night burned with fire. Arik's visions struck harder than ever, pulling him between paths of life and death. Every choice mattered, every second changed the future. And Lyra fought like a storm, her power no longer trembling but roaring like the heart of a sun. The Empire's armies broke against them, wave after wave. But still, The Emperor came, his presence heavy as gravity. He descended upon the battlefield, clad in black armor, his power vast and cruel. He raised his hand, darkness spreading like a shadow across the stars. "You cannot defeat me, child," he hissed. But Lyra stepped forward, her voice strong. "I am not your child anymore. I am the galaxy's." The duel shook the heavens, light against shadow, daughter against father, outcast against throne. Arik staggered to his knees, his vision tearing him apart. He saw two futures, one where she fell, broken and consumed, and one where she rose. But only if he gave everything. The Emperor's blade of darkness struck toward Lyra's heart. In that instant, Arik moved, his body broken, his strength fading. He threw himself between them, taking the strike meant for her. Pain tore through him, but in his eyes burned only fire, he whispered. "Now, Lyra, now." Her scream split the night. Silver power erupted, brighter than suns, tearing the shadow apart. The Emperor staggered, his armor cracking, his voice breaking. "You were nothing," he spat. But her eyes blazed as she roared back. "I was nothing because you feared what I could become." Her final strike shattered the darkness, and the Emperor fell. Silence swept the battlefield, soldiers lowered their weapons, fleets pulled back. The galaxy watched as the Outcast stood tall, her cloak blazing with silver light. She was no longer cursed, no longer forgotten. She was Lyra Vera, princess of the Empire, heir to the throne, and beside her lay Arik, bleeding but smiling. His vision had come true. Lyra knelt beside him, tears burning her cheeks. "You gave everything for me," she whispered. Arik's voice was weak, but his smile was unbroken. "I saw you rise. I saw you shine. That was enough." Her hand gripped his, her tears falling onto his skin. "You will not leave me, not now." He closed his eyes, the visions fading, but in his final breath he whispered, "The galaxy is yours now, princess, but remember, it is only the beginning." The night grew quiet. The Empire knelt to their new ruler. The Outcast had become a queen, but her heart carried the weight of loss. She stood before her people, silver eyes glowing with fire. Her voice carried across the stars. "I was born cursed, I was made an exile, but I will build a galaxy where no child is cast away, where no one is forgotten. This I swear." And so the legend was born, the story of the outcast who became a princess, and the human whose vision changed everything. Yet even in victory the shadow stirred, because destiny is never finished, and somewhere in the dark, another vision waited to awaken.